most of my videos, I focus on the positive aspects of life in Germany. Occasionally, I mention something that's not so great here, but overall, I stay positive. Because I think that life here is much better than where I used to live in the US. However, there are, of course, some things here that aren't so positive. I think it's important for those of you who may want to move here to know about these things. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. 5 areas where my experiences here haven't been so great. Los geht's. I've mentioned in other videos that the German culture is much more laid back than most people might expect. While this relaxed attitude helps to reduce stress and contributes to an overall better quality of life, it also has a downside. Because everyone is so chilled out, especially in Berlin, it can take a really long time to get things done. For example, getting something repaired in my apartment can take weeks instead of a few hours or days. First, you have to contact the property management, and they might take days to even respond. Then, you have to make an appointment with a contractor to make the repairs. This too can take several days. And then, since there's a labor shortage here, you may have to wait weeks before a contractor can come by to do the work. This can get very frustrating, especially when you have things that need fixing. Even if you have something urgent like a toilet overflowing, you'll probably have to spend hours making lots of phone calls to get something done.
Can you bring me my chapstick?
No, Napoleon.
But my lips hurt real bad.
And if you run into an urgent problem on a weekend or on a holiday, you're basically out of luck until the next business day. So yeah, the slowness here can definitely be a problem. In addition to this slowness, getting packages delivered in Germany can also be really confusing and complicated. When I first moved to Germany, I lived in a temporary apartment building that thankfully had a concierge. I didn't get many packages delivered then, but when I did, the concierge made the process so much smoother. When I finally got a regular apartment here, the world of deliveries in Germany and all of its complication was fully revealed to me. You see, there are many different delivery companies here, and you often don't know until after you've placed an order which one is going to deliver your package. The main companies, DHL and DPD, handle the majority of deliveries, and if you order through Amazon, they do deliveries directly or through random contractors. Of these, DHL is the biggest, and it's tied into the Deutsche Post, the German domestic mail service. The majority of your packages will be handled by DHL, and this usually runs pretty smoothly. But DPD will sometimes randomly deliver something, and I find they can be unpredictable and frustrating to deal with. Other services include GLS, UPS, and FedEx, but they mostly handle international packages, and luckily, I don't need to deal with them much. But if you're coming from the US and someone there sends you a package, I strongly recommend you have them send it through DHL if possible. When I used UPS to send an important document from the US to Germany, the experience was really bad. The package and its contents were both badly damaged. It actually looked like they had left it out in the rain or something. So I think you should definitely try to avoid using them here if you can. Okay, now back to DHL. Even though most of their deliveries come through to me fine now, it did take a little while to figure out how to best work with them. At first, I had all kinds of problems, like packages not being delivered and sent back, packages being dropped off at random post offices, or even being dropped off in other buildings. But I finally figured out that it works best to get the DHL app, register there, and choose the nearest post office as your main delivery location. Once I did this, things got much easier. Now, I can track packages directly through the app, but I've still had some weird things happen, like once a delivery person came to my door and actually refused to hand over my package. It turns out they saw my instructions on the app to deliver it to the post office, and I guess they didn't check this before coming to my door. That was really odd. This seems like another example of inflexibility that I sometimes come across here, but I'll talk about this more in a future video. Anyways, I've mostly managed to wrangle DHL, but DPD, the other big delivery company, is another story. DPD also has an app, and you can designate a place to send your packages with them too. The big problem with DPD is that they often don't follow any instructions given to them. They do so many weird and random things like leaving packages in the lobby, giving packages to others in the building without telling me who they gave them to, leaving delivery notices saying I wasn't home even though I was, and dropping off packages at stores that are very far away. Suffice it to say that whenever my delivery notice says that a package is being delivered by DPD, I mentally prepare for an adventure. If you order from Amazon, they're pretty good with deliveries, except they do just show up randomly. And if you aren't home, they'll leave packages with whoever is available in the building, even if you've indicated a preferred place for your deliveries. So I often find myself going door to door trying to find my packages. This can definitely be pretty annoying. So please be aware that deliveries can sometimes be a bit of a hassle. They certainly can be in Berlin at least. Okay. Let's move on to another topic that also seems to tie into the laid-back German culture, and that's technology. Given Germany's reputation for producing high-quality cars, high-speed trains, and other advanced technologies, you might be surprised by what I'm about to say. Unfortunately, Germany is not really a leader in all areas of technology. Yes, Germany is known for its high-quality products, and it does design some of the most innovative products in the world, but it also lags behind in some unexpected ways. For example, just last month, Lars Klingbeil, the German Vice Chancellor, said, "Die Faxgeräte müssen entsorgt werden," or "the fax machines must be disposed of." What? Did he just say fax machines? Yes, he did. In 2025? Yep. I can't even remember the last time I used a fax machine. It was probably at least 20 years ago? But the German government still uses them regularly. I know, it's crazy, and that's not all. From my personal experience, I can tell you that many Germans still prefer phone calls over email.
Jerry! The Japanese guys had sake in the hot tub. You gotta get them out of the drawers and get them down here, or I don't have a focus group to sell the pilot to Japanese TV.
Uncle Leo?
Jerry!
All right, I'll wake him up.
This means if you really want to get something done here, you'll often have to make a phone call. This is because emails often go unanswered for days if they are even read at all. And on top of that, many German businesses continue to rely on really outdated software. In fact, some are still using software that's 20 years old. So there's definitely some room for improvement when it comes to the use of technology here. Now let's move on to another thing that, while minor, can still have a significant impact on your day-to-day life. And that's the way crosswalks work here. Okay, I know it might seem crazy or even petty to bring this up. Who even cares about crosswalks? Well, as I've discussed in several other videos, if you live in the downtown area of a city in Germany, chances are that you aren't going to own a car. You're much more likely to walk, bike, and take public transportation to get around. And because you'll be walking so much, the safety of crosswalks is going to be really important. In my opinion, there are two major issues with the crosswalks here. First of all, the signals only have two indicators for pedestrians, green for cross and red for don't cross. The problem with this is that there's nothing to indicate when the signal is going to change. There's no flashing walk signal or any sort of countdown at all. And yes, signals here in Berlin, also known as Ampelmännchen, are pretty cool to look at, but you still have no idea when they're going to change. On top of this, the time given to cross the street is way too short. Particularly on wider roads, the signal turns from green to red when you're only halfway across the street. This means that you can get stranded on an island in the middle of the street, or that you will have to scramble to get all the way across. Of course, I think most Germans find that it's normal for the light to turn red before they actually reach the other side, because that's what they're used to. But still, every single time it happens, I feel like I really have to hustle across. And this seems weird considering how slow-paced everything else seems to be here. The final thing that's not so positive, but which is maybe not such a big deal since you only have to deal with it once a year, is New Year's Eve in Germany. Again, you may be wondering how this could possibly be a problem. Well, here's a sampling of what goes down here in Berlin every New Year's Eve. Yep, it's completely nuts. This is the opposite of the calm and rules-based society that you would expect in Germany. And this doesn't just happen in Berlin. It's so crazy every year that afterwards there's always a big discussion about whether or not to put in more restrictions or possibly even ban fireworks across Germany. But every year it seems like it's all talk and nothing really changes. Maybe this is another example of the slowness of German culture. Well, I can't say I'm a huge fireworks fan, at least not the way it's done here. So, every New Year's Eve, I just hunker down in my apartment and hope my building doesn't burn down in the process. Luckily, that hasn't happened yet. But last New Year's, there was a fire in an apartment not too far from here. So, this year, I'm considering spending New Year's in one of the German towns with a historic district that bans fireworks. Okay, so those are 5 things that are not so positive in Germany. Of course, you should expect that there will be some surprises and cultural adjustments if you move here. So I hope it's been helpful for you to hear about these things. But despite these challenges, I still feel very strongly that life is much better here in Germany than in the US. Okay, that's it for now. I'll see you again soon. Tschüss, bis später.